The Democrat Party's identity crisis is raging on today. And denials aside, we are seeing a power struggle between the far left and leaders like Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, you know, who's at the heart of the shutdown right now. He can't, like, round up 3 cats to get that done. So, you know, gosh, help him try to corral his own people in the Senate so that we can reopen the government. Anyway, it came into sharp focus at a town hall on Wednesday featuring New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. The power of the left among Democrats. Let's watch.
Are you saying that Senator Schumer should not be worried about a primary challenge from you?
I mean,
All right.
no.
Let me jump in on this one. This is what we're
talking about.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
This is what we're
You have a
talking
country
about.
that is falling apart. We had a housing crisis, a healthcare crisis, an education crisis. Nobody cares. So one more touch.
Nobody cares.
Oh, man, I thought I was watching Kamala Harris as she flailed in the 106th leading up to the 107th day. Here's how Chuck Schumer responded when our own Chad Pergram asked him about this.
Republicans continue to say that this shutdown is because you're worried about Ocasio-Cortez and the left.
Look, the bottom line is we are fighting for the American people. The Republicans can talk all the political stuff they want. We're on the side of the American people because they need help.
Have you heard any American people say that they're in favor of the shutdown that Schumer is bringing on? I haven't. Over in the House, the same questions about party leadership being in name only. Here's House Minority Whip Catherine Clark in a sit-down interview with Fox.
I think we have leaders throughout our caucus, that some that have very fancy titles and others that don't. But we just have a tremendous, talented caucus. Our message is clear and unified across our entire Democratic Party.
A new headline suggests House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries may not be safe either. Quote, scoop, dozens of Dem candidates won't commit to backing Jeffries. End of quote. Power panel now. Janiyah Thomas, former Trump campaign strategist, and Patrick Murphy, former Democrat congressman from Pennsylvania. Great to see you both. Janiyah, talk to me about the perhaps opportunity here for Republicans and maybe some disaffected Democrat voters who just really want a new home and like some of the things maybe that Trump has done, but they didn't vote for him.
I mean, as we've seen in the 2024 election, the American people heard their message loud and clear. They just rejected it. You know, Democrats are so busy, they can't get their party in order, and they're so busy focused on the wrong things and not the actual issues that matter to American voters. Whereas going into 2026, under President Trump's leadership, Republicans are more united than ever and are focusing on the things that matter to people, like keeping the border closed, community safety, and a flourishing economy.
All right, I want to show you this, Patrick, before I come to you. The Faulkner Focus hit the streets, as we often do, to talk with people and ask them who they believe the leader of the Democrat Party is. Let's watch.
I am a Democrat. Nobody.
Oh, that's a good question.
Ooh, I don't know. That's a hard one.
I'm not too sure.
Oh, man. I don't know.
I don't think they have a leader.
I don't think we really have one.
I feel like we don't have enough leading.
They need to find one. You think that the Democrats would have just someone out there who actually could lead them?
Where are the plans? All you ever hear is how bad he is. Talk about how you're going to put food on the table, pay the bills.
A couple things stood out to me there, Patrick. Nobody is leading the Democrat Party. But this I thought was key. The one woman who said not enough leading going on. So that's a bigger problem for you, because it's not just one individual who's failing in that category. Apparently, for some people, it's just not enough going on from anybody. What needs to happen?
Yeah, and Harris, you've heard me say this. I think what needs to happen is you're seeing Democratic leaders in the states really step up, and not necessarily in Washington, D.C. And that's why you've heard me say people like Governor Josh Shapiro or Governor Wes Moore, they're really stepping up and people are paying attention to them. But to your point, and what that lady said, and when you went out in the street like that, is they're more pissed off, and they should be. They're upset about, you know, putting food on the table, et cetera. And, you know, I know AOC, what her point was, people don't care who's running in a primary, et cetera. They care about, you know, the fact that there are more unemployed Americans right now than there are job openings. They care the fact that, you know, they are hurting out there. When I look at young men, Harris, 60% young men age 18 to 24 are still living at home because they can't afford to buy a house. There's not enough housing stock. Houses are 5 times their annual salary. We got to do a better job at, basically kitchen table issues.
Look, AOC, I don't know that she spit out as cogently as you just did what she was trying to say. She was too busy trying to laugh off the fact that she wasn't ready for the question when Bernie Sanders has to rescue you. Your last word, Janiyah.
My last word is just simple. The president's leadership is showing, that we are focused on unity versus the Democrats are focused on Trump derangement syndrome and not talking to voters and the issues that matter to people in these communities.
Yeah. As we watch this, and I'm looking out of the corner of my eye, as we watch this push against this anti-ICE push, I have to say to both of you now, Janiyah, go back to what you said moments ago. This was one of the #1 things that Trump promised that he would do the American people, and that was take the worst of the worst illegal immigrants off the streets. He's doing it, and now the defiance on the left also includes some violence. Patrick, I know that you push against that.
Yeah, and listen, you've heard me talk about when they're hitting Tesla dealerships, et cetera. There's whether it's a human person or ICE agent, et cetera, no excuse for political violence out there. And I'm hoping, Harris, to your point on unity, I do hope that President Trump and the Democratic leaders can come together and work out a deal from stopping, shutting down the government, et cetera. We got to make sure that you can't just say, well, we're in charge because we have the majority. They still need Democratic votes in the Senate. It should not be hard. We're talking about $30 billion for those subsidies to be increased for middle American families.
Okay, you want to get into it. I don't have a lot of time, but Senator Thune said, look, you can vote on some of that. Just get the clean CR through so people can get back to work. I have to let you go. Janiyah and Patrick, thank you.
Thanks, Harris.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.